How you doing, VC? Lee here again, south coast of England. Yeah, I've just had a minor operation. Signed off work for a bit, so I've got loads of time on my hands. Thought I'd check out another video. I've been thumbing through my collection, and I thought I'd do one about what my top 10 favourite hip hop albums are in my collection. They're all in sort of roughly chronological order. Yeah, so I'm going to run through those top 10, and I'm going to, as a Brucey bonus, going to add on 2 at the end, which are, in the opinion of most, stone cold classics, but I just don't like them. They just don't do it for me. Slightly controversial maybe, but I'm going to save those 2 till last. Yeah, so let's roll. I'm going to start with the Stereo MCs. Now, as an 18-year-old living on the south coast of England in Sussex, it wasn't really a big hip-hop culture, as you might well imagine. But this really was my route into hip-hop. This isn't the album that I couldn't find it from my unique filing system, so this is a 12-inch from the album. The album is 33, 45, 78. They're a UK 3-piece crew. Went on to have a live drummer as well. 1989. I knew at that stage that I loved all things groove-based, funk, soul, and I was just discovering hip-hop, and this was really my route into it. Really raw production, but a great selection of samples. Really sort of urgent, sort of fast-paced hip-hop, and this is what hooked me in. Yeah, again, I can't find my copy anywhere. It's really irritating me, but obviously a totally different vibe to the US style hip-hop, but yeah, my gateway. So Stereo MCs, slightly unusual, but yeah. Next up, going back overseas, EPMD, another early US outfit, and I think I was attracted to these guys by their lazy boy sort of rapping style, sort of low slung but really funky, really popping beats. Again, this one came out the same sort of time, 1989. So it's funky, but with this kind of hard beat behind it. Yeah, classic style. Love it. And filled with classic tunes. What's the big one? So What You Saying? Yeah, top of the album, this one. Great one. So that is number 2 in my top 10 in my collection. Next up, maybe an obvious one, and quite a timely one, but all the same, I've got to have it in there. It's your boys De La Soul. There is a pattern emoji in here. These are all from the same sort of era, but I have got some later ones. So 3 Feet High and Rising, it's just been reissued. Yeah, I was all over this when it came out. Had the tape of it in my little Fiat 126 car when I was driving around as a student. Again, not sort of a classic hip hop style. It was all over the place, sampling Steely Dan and Hall and Oates, all sorts. And yeah, obviously just been reissued. I spent hours listening to this. So much variety in the songs and the samples and the styles in there. So much going on. Always come back to it. Spent hours trying to unravel it all. And yeah, sadly, R.I.P. Trugoy the Dove, we just lost recently. So a classic tune, a classic album, number 3 in my top 10. Next one, I'm going a bit off-piste and a bit random, and probably one that you don't really know or you're not familiar with. It's DC Basshead, Play With Toys. Again, same sort of period, 1991 this is. How to describe this? It's loosely hip-hop. I mean, he is a rapper, but he mixes it up with a kind of singer-songwritery style. So there's a bit of guitar in there, and he sings on this album. But to me, it is in essence a hip-hop album. I don't think it was a massive album, but again, it's one of those that I keep going back to. It's just different, sort of a warm sound. If we're talking about a lazy flow style with the EPMD boys, this guy's even more on the down low, but it just works. And I always go back to this. It's quite a hard one to find on vinyl now, and I think I did find it online, having had it on CD for years, but Yeah, one that you're probably not familiar with, but I can recommend. Check it out. The guy is called Michael Ivey. I think he did a couple of albums, and he's done nothing since. So I don't even know if he's still in the music biz. But for me, an all-time classic. So that's in my 10, and that is number four, I think. Yeah, really emotive album as well. Yeah, it doesn't have the sort of standard bragging you get on a lot of hip hop albums. In fact, it's quite emotional. If you listen to that last track on here, "Play with Toys," really pulls the heartstrings. So, yeah, a bit of a random one, but check it out. Go with me on that. Moving on, more classics. It's the Low End Theory, Tribe Called Quest. What year is that? 1991. Another obvious classic, but it just totally pops. It's got that live jazz feel with the double bass sound, jazzy samples, but with that unique hip hop feel, and the counterplay between the two finest MCs that ever did it. Q-Tip. It just pops. It's not a really fast pace, but it just sits beautifully. One you're probably all familiar with. Just filmed with bangers. We got Bugging Out, Check the Rhyme, total classic. So that's in my top 10. Changing the tone again slightly. The Beastie Boys, Check Your Head. This is my OG European pressing. I got when it came out. Yeah, what can you say about the Beasties? Hasn't already been said. This one, they moved towards more of a live band feel. So not only did they showcase the fact that they were excellent MCs, they could play too. So there were sort of live jams on here that are funky, but they're also punky. They came out of that era in New York where that sort of style was prevalent, and it comes across on this. So the thing that drew me to this was it's just a mishmash of everything. It builds on Paul's Boutique, which is the one that before it, but I just love that live element that comes to it, and it's a classic hip hop album too. Slightly unusual vocal styles that they have, but it just works. The interplay between them, incredible. So, yeah, another Stone Cold classic in my collection, my top 10. Next one, again, same era. This must have been the golden era for me. Public Enemy, Fear of a Black Planet, 1990. I absolutely played this to death, and when I was living at home with my parents, I probably annoyed them to death, but I couldn't help it. I loved it. It's that, it's just the production on this, the Bomb Squad, I think it is, that produce it. So dense, so funky, such a variety. It's just had so much depth to it. It is incredible. I played it to death. Loads of different styles. You've got the poppy 911 is a joke on there, but some of the other tunes on it really heavy. B-side Wins Again, War at 33 1/3. And just to describe what I love about PE, Chuck D's got that beautiful bassy, boomy voice, so commanding, and yet you've got flavour in the background, bringing the different style. Obviously, Takes a Nation of Millions is probably the most acknowledged one of their albums, but this is my favourite. Absolutely love it. Always go back to this. Is PE. Next one on my list is Mos Def, The Ecstatic. I could have had this or Black on Both Sides, but unfortunately I don't have a copy of Black on Both Sides on vinyl, so I'm going with this one because this one is equally good. This is from 2009. Tracks on it produced by Jay Dilla and Madlib, so there's a real hodgepodge of samples and backing tracks. You're sort of veering from the funky stuff to sort of Turkish psych music. It's a really unusual mix, but it just works and it just pops. Mos Def, really underrated MC in my opinion. I think this may have been his last LP. I don't think he's done anything since, or he might have done something under a different alias because he sort of got into acting and all sorts of stuff. But yeah, incredible album. Quite sought after one, this one now as well. and I can see why. It's a slightly unusual one, but yeah, it really pops. So yeah, Most Def, the Ecstatic. And now we get to my two favourite ones. I can't really separate them. These are two Stone Cold classics in my collection, and two of the greatest, in my opinion, albums of hip hop albums of all time. And the first of which is, drum roll, it's Mad Villain. Yeah, what year is this? 2004. In my opinion, this was just the perfect combination of MC and producer. It just absolutely works. You've got the bassy flow of Doom, and the superb production of Mad Lid. It just has that vibe and that mood throughout that sustains. It's incredible. Yeah. Again, I can't separate this with the next one I'm going to show you, but sadly they were never able to repeat this. There were rumours that they were getting together and they had some beats together, and a few tracks may have been recorded, but as you all know, sadly we lost Doom recently, so this is our legacy, and well, what a legacy. I think this is one of my favourites of all time. As I say, I can't split it with the one that's coming up next, but yeah, toss up between this and the next one. It's Mad Villain. And the next one, again, my fave too, is Liquid Swords, Genius, or the Jizzer. Yeah, this came out when I was at university. I'm going to be honest, I didn't really get into the Wu-Tang Clan in a great way. I've got some of their stuff, but for me, this is way better than anything that they produced. Produced by the RZA, and various guest MCs from the Wu-Tang Clan appear on here, but I think I'm drawn to the slightly more unusual styles in hip hop, and this is a case in point. The RZA is a producer. He samples a film called Shogun Assassin in this, so there's various bits of dialogue that appear from that film in this, but it's just got that kind of soundtracky, dense feel to it. It's a sort of really unusual musical style, which is why I think I'm drawn to it, but it's kind of mesmeric. You're just drawn to it. Always come back to it. It just, I'd take this over any Wu-Tang Clan LP, and I've got a few of those. Hard to explain really, but it's just a classic. And again, it's quite a tricky one to find now on vinyl. This I got some years ago at a record fair, and I'm glad I did. Yeah, what a classic. Yeah, it's the Jizzer. And finally, on a more controversial point, I'm going with two classics that I've got in my collection that I barely ever play and are acknowledged, I guess, as all-time classics, but I can't feel them, and I will try and explain why. And you might disagree with me, but this is what it's all about. And the first one I'm going with is Jay-Z, Reasonable Doubt. Yes, no doubt, he's a fine MC, he's got a top style, he's acknowledged as one of the best that ever did it, but not to me. It's just the tone of his voice. It's too high pitched for me. He comes across, he sounds like Alvin and the Chipmunks to me. I'm just not feeling it. Yes, yeah, arguably one of the finest MCs that ever did it, but just not for me. I hardly ever go back to it. I haven't got many of their other albums. Yeah, I'm sorry, Hove. I'm just not feeling it. So it's not a classic for me. Yes, I've still got it. Barely play it. Yeah, don't hate me. And then perhaps even more controversially, more expensively, this is my original press of Dr. Dre's The Chronic. Goes for mad money now. But yeah, why? Yeah, he's obviously gone on to be a legendary producer. The production on this is amazing, but he's not a very good MC, is he? So yeah, is it a classic? Well, it obviously is, because people are chasing it down and it's been repressed countless times, but he's just not a very good MC. Come on, let's just face it. It sounds to me like he's shouting across the room to his mate with a shopping list to get, to go down the shops and get him something. He just barks it out. No real great flow. Yeah, sorry, he's just not doing it for me. So it's not down on my list of classics, I'm afraid. Yes, I've still got it, but sorry, Dre, not happening. So, what do you think? Am I off the mark with those two? What do you think of my other 10? Let me know. Give me some feedback. Hope you're all well. See you soon. Cheers.